understand my ups and downs. There you were, with sweet love and devotion, deeply touching my emotion. I want to stop and thank you, baby. I want to stop and thank you, baby. Yes, I do. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Feels so fine. How sweet it is to be loved by you. I close my eyes at night, wondering where would I be without you in my life. Everything I did was just a bore. Everywhere I went, it seems I've been there before. But you're bright enough for me all of my days. With a love so sweet in so many ways. I wanna stop, thank you, baby. I just wanna stop, thank you, baby. Oh, yes. How sweet it is to be loved by you. It's just like sugar sometimes. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Whoa, yeah. You were better to me than I was to myself. For me, there's you, and there ain't nobody else. I wanna stop and thank you, baby. I just wanna stop and thank you, baby. Oh, yes. How sweet it is to be loved by you. How sweet it is to be loved by you.
Big Al. So there were lots of pictures there, and probably several that you're wondering, who's that? What's going on? You know, that kind of thing. So I'm going to do a little presentation with some of the photos and tell you what's going on. I think I know almost everybody here. I'm Liz Adams. On behalf of Patty and Al and the entire family, thank you for coming to remember and celebrate the legend that is Alan Bowen. I've known Patty and Al for 40 years, both as a friend and co-worker, and I'm honored to share the story of Al's life with you here today. I look forward to hearing all the stories that you have to share. And while Al is not physically with us, I believe his spirit is most definitely with us today. I had some little housekeeping issues, but I think we've got past that. The food's over here. They're supposed to move the bar in here. I don't know if they did, if it's still around there. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you, Bowen. Get up and get food, and as you need to. The restrooms are this way and down that hall. And then at some point, do visit the memorabilia over here, behind the wall here, and some little cards to take away. There's little prayer cards, one that has the 23rd Psalm on it, and another one that has an Until We Meet Again poem on it. So feel free to take one of those, and also a little birdseed envelopes, which you can scatter birdseed in honor of Al. So don't miss those things back there. So if we can press, Abel, if we can put it into slideshow mode. Is it in the top? All right, so this is our first slide. We can move to the next slide. These little girls, Patty and Al used to babysit and take them on fun excursions, which we can maybe hear about. But Patty wanted me to include this slide. These are my daughters, and they're the ones going around today taking pictures of everybody. They're all grown up, but that's Ellie and Sarah. And they're gonna put together a video with pictures and little short videos and everything that's going on today. Ellie's back there filming now, so that Patty can have this day to remember. All right, did Jane make it? Patty, did Jane get here?
She did not get here yet.
Okay, she's trying. Al's sister Jane has been in the hospital, been in rehab. She's really going through some tough stuff, but she wanted more than anything to be here today and had it all kind of arranged, and I think some things happened. But I have some comments that she had typed up ahead of time just in case she couldn't be here, and I'll read those. Her sister, her daughter, Christina, is here, and Christina's daughter, Patty May, is also here, from Al's family. All right, before I get into the family stuff, I'm just going to tell one story about Al. And I don't want to read it, but I wrote it just so I don't know. When I moved to Jacksonville in 1986, after college, with work experience working for a heating and air conditioning contractor in the New Orleans area where I'm from, I was hired to be in sales for Fax Management, the company where Al and Patty worked. And Al was my boss in sales. He taught me a lot about sales. He taught me about needs-based selling. One of our first trips, which I'm talking about, one of our first trips, I'd had to set up the computer and I'd just start going soup to nuts, everything we had. And you know, he later told me, Liz, you know, I think you bored everybody in that room. You need to needs-based selling. We need to find out what their needs are. And it might just be 2 or 3 things that we do, and then they'll buy off that. People buy based on their needs and based on the pain points in their organization. If you can solve those, then you can get the sale. Don't show them everything. So anyway, he had a lot to teach me. But our very first sales trip together was in Baltimore, Maryland. I had made all the appointments for the week, and back then, you know, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have email. I had paper maps and directions and how to get everywhere. Well, as we were landing in Baltimore, it was snowy, and I think we were one of the last planes to land at the airport. We landed. It was such a hard landing that his glasses flew off, and I don't think he ever found them. They flew off. So we get the rental car, and we're heading to the hotel. I don't think anybody else was on the road except Al and I. And he's driving. I got this. And snow coming at the car. I'm like, I don't know, Al. Should we really be driving? We finally got close enough to the hotel. We saw it. We saw the beaming green Holiday Inn sign. I'm like, that's it. So we get closer. Well, then we had to get up a hill. The car just wouldn't go anymore. The rental car just wouldn't go anymore. And he said, well, it'll be good here for the night. So we get out, we get our luggage, and we haul up the hill to the Holiday Inn, spend the night, and then separate rooms, of course. And then the next day, there's this pounding on the door, boom, 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 boom. This truck driver was blocked in where Al had left the car. So he's like, and the whole hotel was in an uproar because the truck driver had been banging on all the doors trying to find who left their car in front of his truck. So they start walking toward the car. I got my stuff together and start walking over there. And before the event was over, Al and the truck driver were best buddies, laughing and joking and carrying on. And you know, he'd made another friend, you know, because that's the kind of guy he was. So fly by the seat of your pants, spontaneous kind of guy. Al was like the brother I never had. Patty and Al and I spent a lot of time together back in the 80s. Wilson too, and some of you other folks too. I was single at the time. I'm now happily married with a wonderful family over here. But I was single at the time, and my sister would often call me and say, are you still dating that married couple? and I said, yes. And honestly, besides my husband of 30 years, Patty and Al are my best friends. All right, next slide. And this is Al and his sister Jane and Mom. What's the mom's?
Bowen.
This is Bowen. And Jane is. I'll read Jane's notes now because they're just so sweet. Jane says, I was born February 1st, 1950. Al was born March 18th, 1951. We were 13 and a half months apart. We were babies, brother and sister. Al was the most wonderful brother to me. He always had my back. He told our mom over her dying days that he will take care of me. I loved him with all my heart. I was proud of him and will miss him very much. Al and I could not have had better parents as we did with Mom and Dad. They raised us in the church. Hey, Patty Mae, is that you talking? I'm talking about your grandma. They raised us in the church. We made family trips. They taught us the values of life, dignity, respect, work ethic, and the value of a good education. When Al and I were young, we played football or baseball. I guess she means both of them. He gave me his lucky bat. I would hit home runs with it. We played board games and played in the snow. We built many snowmen. Most of our family trips were visiting family. We did go to the Smoky Mountains and Daytona, Florida for vacations. Al played all sports and excelled in all of them. In elementary days, he played pee-wee football and baseball. In high school, he played football, baseball, tennis, and basketball. We'll hear more of all that from his school days buddies over here. Okay, so Jane says, Al and Daddy liked sharing stories about sports and watching sports on TV. They built different things together. For example, they built a motorbike from a lawnmower. When Daddy passed away, a lawnmower motor, when Daddy passed away, before I got married, the happiest moment of my life was when Al and Mom gave me away at my wedding. And Jane was married in Greece. Some of the pictures, I think you may have seen that. And she says, even though Al was my little brother, Al was my big brother. He was so well liked by everyone he met. Al's heart was full of love, respect, and kindness. I will miss him. From Jane. So let's go to the next picture. There's a few of them of young. I love that one with the mom in the front of the car, and then Jane and Al. And I'm not sure, I was going to ask Jane who that lady is. Is that a grandma? Grandma Bowen. Okay, and next, they're on Santa's lap. Al does not look too happy. And it might be because his sister Christina, doesn't she have a little precocious look on her face? She cut his hair the night before. He took scissors and see his bald head kind of? He's mad about something. But so cute are they. Okay, and the next one is they are dressed up as a nurse and a cowboy. Al wanted to be a cowboy more than anything, and that didn't work out, but Jane did become a nurse. She's now retired, but she became a nurse. Okay, let's see the next one. He got a little older, and he took piano lessons. He didn't like them so much, though. He actually quit going and didn't tell his mom, and the piano teacher had to call the mom and say, you know, you keep mailing me this check, but Al's not coming to piano lessons. And so you might wonder why there's what's going on there, a diner there in the picture. Well, that's because Al's piano teacher was, cue it, Holly Holiday. Holly Holiday, yes, from Alice. Remember Alice? And Mrs. Flo, Kiss My Grits? She taught me, you can look it up on Wikipedia. She taught piano in Haleyville, Alabama. And two of her students were Jane and Alan Bowen. Holly Holiday. I can't make this stuff up. Okay. So next, do we have our, because I'm going to need Nola in just a minute. Do we have our wireless microphone turned on, Abel? And Nola, you can make your way up here. I don't know where you are.
Just went that way.
You're fired, Nola. She'll be back in time. Okay, so this next one is, I'll tell a little bit about it, then I'm gonna turn it over to these guys over here. So this was around 5th grade, I think, that family moved from Alabama to Erlanger, Kentucky, and where Al met his lifelong friends, Dennis and Ray and Tom and Sweeney. We'll see him in a minute. Dennis and Margie are here today from Dayton, right? From Dayton, and Ray and Paula Hopkins from Erlanger.
Well,
Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. Okay, and then Tom is not here. Tom and Barb, Al played football with Tom, and Barb, Tom's wife, was a cheerleader, so they were all in this group too. And then Sweeney, who's passed away, Sweeney and Cheryl. And I wasn't gonna tell this, but I'm gonna tell it. So Ray would call the office often to talk to Al and say, "Hey, it's Captain Al. Is Ray around?" And yeah, Captain. Yeah. And there's a story behind that. And then I got a call from somebody else who I didn't recognize. And I said, I asked who's calling. He said, "Swing." And I said, "Swing." I said, "Could you repeat that?" "It's your swing." Okay. So I get Al on the phone and say, "Al, there's somebody named Swing on the phone. Swing." Al says, "Oh, Swing." All right, here he is. So Swing, apparently Swing was a real character, and he's no longer with us. But let's see. We look forward to hearing some good stories, starting with baseball. So, where's that wireless mic? Thank you, Noah. Could you hand it to the gentleman in the purple sweater?
Hello. My name's Ray Hopkins, and I had the pleasure of knowing Al for 63 years. He came, like she said, up from Alabama, and it was going to be a temporary thing. We were having some trouble with the rail track, and that's what Al's dad did. He was a road supervisor for the Southern Railroad. It ran from the track that locally ran from Cincinnati down to Chattanooga. And kind of interesting, the fact that that track was actually owned by the city of Cincinnati until last year, which they sold for $6.5 billion. And Al's dad's job was to get the track back in shape because evidently there was some track that had not passed inspection, and they were running trains on it and wasn't safe. So they moved to Erlanger. 10,000 people were there, about basically a blue-collar community. Now, his dad fit in quite well because that's what he was. He was a big man, a very strong man, didn't say a lot, and you respected him. And you respected Al's mother. And like Liz said, they were very, very active in the Erlanger Baptist Church, which the EB stood for, Erlanger Baptist. So the year prior to this team, I played for the Erlanger Christian Church, and that team was not renewed as far as funding by the church, and I didn't have any place to play. And Al had shown up about midway during the school year. They were just going to stay for a little bit, and he said, "Well, you can come over and play for our team." And Hal, he just moved in, and he's already calling the shots. So I joined the Erlanger Baptist team, and Al and I became lifelong friends. Al was a catcher and a first baseman, and I was too. So we rotated positions. And we had a decent team. I wouldn't say we were the best, but we had a decent team. And we went from there to play football. And he was number 86 at right end, and I was the tackle next to him at 72. And we were in that position all the way through school. It's kind of funny, she talks about Sweeney, and I don't know why they would do this in practice, but Sweeney wasn't that big of a guy. I was the biggest guy probably on the team. Back then, guys weren't as big as they are today. I dressed out without equipment about 215, probably for equipment 225. And Al was about, you can see in that picture there, at the best, his senior year, maybe $165. He wasn't overly big. The guy on the far left standing with his tongue sticking out and his eyes closed, yeah, that's right, that's me. And I want to make sure people knew who I was. So anyway, one day in practice, we get over, just to run a play, and Sweeney's across from us. And Sweeney maybe weighed about 30 at the most. And Al says to me, we're going to call an audible here, we're going to run 46 par. And, you know, the only guy that was supposed to call the audibles was the quarterback, but I was calling him audible. And so 46 par was where I fired on the tackle who swings across and then out cracks down on me, taking down the line to about the center, the big wide hole there for the halfback to run through. And so we take Sweeney out. He gets all up, shakes himself off, and out gets back up the line and says, 46 par. I said, hell, come on. We do the same thing. He does it a third time. And Sweeney never, ever complained, ever, to anybody about any of it. He just wanted to be part of the team. Game time came, he never played, was on the team, but he took everything you could throw at him. During that time, the beginning of our high school years, my mother had taken classes at a foundation called Baker Hunt. She took art classes down there, and they were going to have some dance classes. I'm going to bring this up because Liz was talking about the piano class. And so my mother says, you need to go to those dance classes and learn how to dance. It was mainly ballroom dancing. So I called Al up. I said, Al, you want to go with us down to the Baker Hunt and learn how to dance? He said, oh, yeah, sign me up. And he asked our buddy Irv, and Irv's going to join us too. So the first night's on a Thursday night in October. We're going to go down there to Baker Hunt. And I said, Al, I'll tell you what, my mom's going to drive this week, and we'll just rotate driving, and we'll pick you up at 6:30 so we can be down there by 7. He says, well, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, Irv and I got to go to the church tonight and do a function. I'll meet you down there. So I get down there, and Al and Irv never showed up and never came 1 week. The good thing about it, for me, I met a whole new group of guys, and ended up meeting my wife today at 53 years. Follow. I didn't meet her at dance school, but I met her through some other friends. We had a really great time playing sports together. Our freshman year in high school, we had a really good quarterback. We won the state championship and weren't beat that year in the state of Kentucky. We were a small Class A school. Our sophomore year, we got called to the auditorium one day for a presentation, and our defensive safety, who was the captain of the team that we played on, made first team All-American, and got a scholarship to play at Tulsa and Hendon, and captained their team for his junior year in college and his senior year in college. He got drafted out of college at Tulsa to the Baltimore Colts, which was the original Baltimore Colts, not the Baltimore Ravens. Today this team went to Indianapolis, and they're the Colts in Indianapolis. Guy we played for our sophomore year was a guy named Roy Lucas. Roy Lucas's brother, for some of you older guys you might remember, his brother was named Jerry Lucas, who played in the NBA basketball. Started out Cincinnati Royals, went to Kansas City Royals, and ended up playing for the New York Knicks. And he played for the Olympic team with Oscar Robinson. They won that. They won the NCAA at Ohio State. Very good basketball player. Roy, in his own right, was a very good football player at Moorhead, and he took over our coaching as a sophomore. Our junior year, our linebacker, our center linebacker, got a full scholarship to Air Force. And so, you know, we're all thinking, man, I tell you what, it's in the water here in Erlanger. Somebody out of 20 seniors going into our senior year, we're going to play somewhere. And we're going to get a ride to college because most of us didn't have a damn nickel to our name. And so my junior year, I had just gotten my license. And I call Al up. I said, hey, would you take me down and help me pick up this car? And he said, sure. So he drives his old, I don't know if you ever saw one of these, a Falcon pickup. That's what he was driving. His dad had given him that he used to use on the railroad. And it was beat to hell, but it got us back and forth. So I went down to buy a 1960 Chevrolet, no, pardon me, it was a Ford Galaxy 500, 454 V8. That's when you could get gas for $0.25 a gallon. And so we get that car that day, and I was appreciative. About a year later, and at Al's senior year, he calls me up and says, I'm going to go down and look at a car. Come over and pick me up. So I go over and get him, and he tells me to take him to the Ridgeview Lincoln Mercury dealer. And I'm saying, well, okay. We must be looking at a used car they got down there in the used lot. We go down there, and he wants to drive a brand new one on the showroom. And I'm saying, he has lost his mind. I said, I mean, my car cost me $250 a year ago, and he's looking at a brand new one. Where's he going to get that money at? Well, the guy I knew, the son of the owner, and he said, yeah, you can take it out for a ride. So we took this little Capri car out, a 4-seater, 2 buckets in the front, a little bench in the back, brown. And Al said, I like it. And he said, what I got to do to get it? And he said, well, just let us know, and you can pick it up whenever you want to. He said, I'll go on and hold it for you. And I said, that's good. So he did. And about a week later, Al went down, but before that, we went next door to this chili parlor. In the greater Cincinnati area, there's a chili called Skyline. Greek immigrants came over from Greece and made this spicy chili, and everybody thinks it's something. Makes you half sick sometimes. But we went to this chili parlor, and we go to the payphone, and Al calls his mother, and he says, call down home and sell some trees. I had no idea what that meant. So about a week later, he calls me up and says, let's go down and get the car. Mom gave me a certified cashier's check, and the car's ready. I said, okay. And we actually got the car. And I said, gee, I must be doing something wrong. I don't have any trees. And I didn't realize until years later, Al's dad and his 2 brothers owned half of Alabama on the eastern side of pine trees. And they would sell them for pulp and for paper and for building houses and whatever. That baseball team there, Mr. Bowen showed up one night, and I didn't know a whole lot of guys at the time on that team. I became friends with all of them, and I didn't have anybody to throw to. And Mr. Bowen says, come on now, Brett, throw that ball to me. And I said, Mr. Bowen, you don't have a glove. He said, I throw the ball. So I throw the ball to him. He says, I'm telling you what, Ray, you got to throw the ball. So I'm like throwing as hard as I can. He's catching me barehanded with his hand, and never complained or twigged at all. Going into our senior year in football, we were ranked number 1 in the state, and really expected to win the state. We had a good quarterback who she mentioned, Tom Smith, and he was a good thrower. And we also had an option quarterback named Rick Steen, and not many teams ever had one good quarterback. We had 2. We got to 8-0 and still ranked number 1 in the state. We go against a bigger school, Campbell County. We weren't expected to win the game. We thought we'd give them a competitive game. They'd already signed a quarterback to the University of Cincinnati that year, and we knew he was good, and they flat out kicked our ass. So that was okay because we weren't in their division.
All right, we gotta get out of high
I'm
school.
sorry. Yes. Come on, man. Stop me. Come on.
Dennis, let's go. Next slide.
Test. All right, I'm going to talk longer than Ray. My name's
My name is Dennis Green. I'm sitting here with my high school sweetheart, Margie. And it was our pleasure to know Al all these years. Just wonderful, wonderful person. And Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. That's Al with half in the bus, half out of the bus with the glasses. I'm, I guess, 2 in front of him, a shorter guy with the dark hair without a neckerchief or a t-shirt. Scoutmaster's on the far left. This is one of our many trips. That was our school bus. That wasn't the school's bus that we borrowed. That was our school bus. We have a very active camping troop. We took a lot of trips. I believe this one was where we went up to Washington, D.C. We would be camping along every time we stopped. We toured D.C., the buildings there. And
This
the
was
memorial.
Canada. This was New York City and Canada.
This,
That's it.
we're getting there. Then we went up into Maine. I remember staying in Bangor, Maine, and all right.
Tell them where you're at.
Bangor, Maine. Then we went through Queens Highway through Canada, and then back down through Michigan's Big Loop. That's a big trip for a Boy Scout trip. We also did a lot of hiking. We would do 20-mile hikes frequently. A lot of outdoorsy stuff, a lot of camping. So that was something that Al really enjoyed until he found girls. Anyway, what's the next slide? Okay, I don't have any comment on this one other than he's a good-looking man. All right, I'll talk about this. This is our physics teacher in high school. We were seniors, and we had a rowdy class so bad that the teacher had to split the class into 2 groups. Put one in one room and the other in the other room. There was the good group and the bad group. Ray was in the bad group. I was in the good group with Al. This is Miss Fisher. Miss Fisher had just graduated from college, and this was her first year teaching anybody, anywhere. And she's got a rowdy senior group at Lloyd High School in Erlanger, Kentucky. And she was just a few years older than us. And she didn't know discipline. I don't know if anybody could control that class, but she struggled with it. But it wasn't like she thought it was. I don't think it was a problem for her. She was enjoying it. And she was trying to be a friend. And we would do things that we shouldn't do. And the thing I wanted to talk about is the time that we were in class. I was in the good class. And I don't know how it got out of hand, but Al picked her up, carried her out the door into the hallway. Now, there isn't anybody that in that school that if they did that, they would get expelled. They would get deep trouble. She didn't turn him in. Everybody knew it, but it was all good fun. I think she had a crush on Al, is what I think. And, so did a lot of the other girls in the school, but she was just a few years older. Okay, next slide. Well, that's the infamous Sweeney with the white shirt on. I'm holding his shoulders, and of course Al. Sweeney was a character, and to say the least. Okay, I don't know if there's any more that I have comment on this one.
Go to the next one. I don't know.
Okay, we'll talk about this real quick. This is a landmark in Erlanger, Kentucky. Like Ray said, it's a blue-collar community. And we had a number of restaurants. This is a Cincinnati chain restaurant called Frisch's. And Frisch's Big Boy, it was the place to go. And about 3 or 4 miles south on this is the main drag going through Erlanger, Kentucky, was McDonald's. And so the thing to do in the evening was to drive up through Frisch's and see who's there. And then turn south and go down to McDonald's and see who's there. And then go north up to Frisch's and see who's there, etc. So we did this repeatedly. I don't have a picture of McDonald's, but you know what they look like. And Al was right in the thick of things and all that. Okay, I think that's all we have on my slides. Thank you.
We have a basketball coach.
Okay, I'm gonna scoot through these next few kind of fast. Let's see. Yeah, basketball shot, number 32. When we play, I think we're going to play the other slideshow again at the end of this while everybody mingles around and gets some more to eat and drink. So watch for number 32, that's him. Next, there was this is a story about school bus fire. Okay, yeah, I have Ray's name down for this one. Come on, Ray.
So like I said before, we lost the night game. We show up over in Dayton, Kentucky, and I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this, but who ended up coaching in the NCAA basketball Division I that came out of Dayton, Kentucky? The Wizard of Westwood, John Wooten. That was his first job in the coaching career, 1963. That's where we were at this night. And back then you had to win your division to go on to the state. If we beat these guys, the Green Devils, then we would go downstate. So we show up, and we knew something was screwed up before we ever left the school because we had to give our shoes to the equipment manager. Instead of wearing regular cleats like that, we got these cleats like this, which we'd never seen. They were harder than hell to walk in, called mud cleats. And all the schools along the river there, back in the WPA, people were out of work during the Depression, and they built concrete stadiums. And this school, the school next to it, the school next to it, the school next to it, and the school next to it, all along the river, the Ohio River. And so, up above the stadium, these jackasses had a dump, and I guess they acted like that fire hydrant had stayed on all week by mistake. And we're wondering why we're getting these mud cleats. Well, the mud was over top of our ankles. They had two brothers on the team by the name of Wilbur, and that was their last name, and they beat us that night. The buses were waiting to take us on down back to our school, and I don't know how long they'd been running, but they overcame the buses with fumes, and we got on the buses and couldn't breathe, to be quite honest with you. Started throwing up, and I was taken with about 8 other players to the local hospital in Dayton, Kentucky, which is a small little hospital called Spears. The rest of the team was taken up the hill to the larger hospital called St. Luke. And we got oxygen and eventually got to be okay.
Did you live?
It was a hard tale, Wilson, but it was totally apparent for many weeks afterwards. What did happen at St. Luke was those guys were pretty bored because none of them really needed oxygen. They started having wheelchair races, and our defensive safety broke his leg in the hall of the hospital, and they had to repair his leg that night. Now that was like the first week of November. The third week of November is always in our part of the country, Thanksgiving. And we went to my Aunt Rita's for Thanksgiving, and my uncle, his name was Victor Cummins. He was the president of the union of the buses we got sick on that night. And he sits down there at the dinner table and he tells me, he says, that was not carbon monoxide that you got sick on. Those buses were on diesel. And that won't make you sick. And I said, I'll tell you what, Uncle Victor, we're going to go down to the bus barn tomorrow. I'll meet you down here at 9 a.m. We're going to put a hose inside that bus for about 20 minutes, and then we're gonna let you sit on the back of it and see what you do.
Okay, great story, right? Thank you, great story. Okay, so we're going to jump to college friends. We could go to the next one and see.
That's a broken leg.
Yeah, I had it up there. Okay, this is Al's college buddy, Steve Connor, over here. With Al's mom in the middle and Al on the far left. And then skip to the next picture and it'll be...
All right. I was kind of hoping we wouldn't show that picture, but you know, that's all right. I actually wanted to tell a college story, but I couldn't think of anything that I could do in the company of everybody here. So, but Ray reminded me of the Capri that Al got when he was in college, and his mom and dad sold trees that were on their property in Alabama, and he bought that Capri. And the thing that I remember the most about it, other than driving around to Richmond, Kentucky, we went to Eastern Kentucky University, was that he installed an 8-track tape player, and he put it under the seat. Instead of putting it in the dashboard, he installed it under his seat. So he'd be driving along, I'd be sitting over here beside him, and he'd be changing the tape like this while he was driving. I can't tell you how many times we almost ran off the road, but we survived it. So that's a college story that I thought of. But what really stood out about Al was, of course, as everybody here knows, his personality. He was fun, he was extroverted, he was happy, and he was smart. So the story I'm going to tell about him came a little later, actually, here in Jacksonville, because we would come to St. Augustine quite a bit, and then I'd always come up and hang out with Al and Patty. And it's like, we call it the tuck and roll, and I know that Patty's smiling back there. She knows this story. So 4 of us were out to dinner one night here in Jacksonville. Al, Patty, Kathleen, my wife, and me. And we had just gotten to a restaurant, and we were being escorted to the table. And so it just so happened that there was a ramp going down to a lower level. Maybe some of you know where this restaurant is. I don't know exactly where it is. But anyway, and then along that ramp were a lot of 2-person tables. And so Al, we walked ahead, and Al was walking down that ramp, and he lost his balance. And so there were a couple that had just gotten their food, and they were sitting at a table right there by the left of it. And when he was falling, he put his hand down on the table, and their food just flew up in the air. And he went down on that ramp, and he did the most beautiful tuck and roll that you've ever seen. And he popped right back up on his feet. And of course, the couple had completely lost all their food. And it's kind of like the truck driver, you know. By the time we left, he was their best friend, even though he had totally demolished their meal. And so we laughed so hard. And of course, Al laughed the hardest because he... So that's all.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Sorry,
Hey, Liz, you got to do that tuck and roll there.
I think I need some lessons in the tuck and roll. Okay, so thank you guys. All that was wonderful. We're going to transition away from college to, I guess Al, after college, took some jobs in Cincinnati and then ended up down in, I think, Orlando for Xerox, and then ended up in Jacksonville. That's where he started dating Patty. Well, actually, that's Steve Connor who just spoke, and his wife, and Chase. The little baby on top of the shoulders is right here. He's all grown up. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, because I think it's, okay, when he came down to Jacksonville. All right, next. And this is, I think, one of Patty and Al's dates early on. You can see Wilson on the far right. He was around from the beginning. And then Al and Patty and Al's sister Jane and little Christina, who's over there with her little one. That was at Chizu. We loved to go to Chizu back in the day. Japanese steakhouse. Okay, next is, okay, their wedding, and we saw a lot of these, so let's go on through these. I do want to go to the wedding cake. Okay, notice the top of the wedding cake. Did anybody notice? That's Mr. and Mrs. Bear. Patty loved teddy bears, and that little ceramic Mr. and Mrs. Bear is over on the dessert table, which you can see. Al gave Patty a lot of bears over the years, so that's a special thing for them. Okay, next is Patty throwing the bouquet, and she tells me she was throwing it directly to me. Do you see me back there? I'm the one with the white top and the black skirt, directly behind Jane. Jane dove in front of me and took the bouquet. That's okay. That's okay. I'm not holding a grudge. All right, next. I love this one of them getting in the car with all the pretty balloons. And then the next one is that little cottage you saw in the other video. That's their honeymoon cottage in Cashers, North Carolina. And it's adorable. It's on the property of High Hampton. I don't know if anybody's been up to that property, but it's very rustic, and no AC, no heat and AC, and it was a very rustic little cabin. And there was I didn't plan on telling this, but there was a little mouse up in the rafters, right, Patty? A little mouse up in the rafters in their honeymoon cabin, and a lot of people would be like, get the mouse. And isn't he cute? And you guys just like left him up there, right? And kind of were amused by him. I thought that was funny.
I think we have a picture of it.
Took a picture with the mouse, and then a few years later, we were in the area, my husband and I, and Ray, and Patty and Al, and we decided to go try to find the honeymoon cabin. We found it, and he said, let's go in, and sure enough, the door was unlocked, so we went and poked around in there, and that was fun. Okay, so, stole a few things. No, we didn't steal. Okay, so now I think we're on to the facts management. Oh no, but Patty and Al's brick at ragtime. They were raising money for the improvements around there, and they got a brick, which is still there. That's the
Ragtime's on.
and ragtime closed. Okay, all right. Next is facts. Okay, this is in the facts building. Guys who raise your hand if you worked for facts back in the day. Okay. So Al was a sales manager. I was a sales rep. Steve Fisher was in sales. Steve Toney was in sales. He was going to be here tonight, but he got sick. Doug Carver in sales, and then the support team. We've got, Susan Riley and Donna and everybody, Carol, and sorry, I'm not saying everybody, but we had a great time. We were all in our 20s and early 30s, and just had a great time. Okay, so here's Al. And I do have several pictures of folks that I'm going to go through, but first I'm going to tell this little funny story. Okay, so back in the day, we had a sales office in California with fax. Steve Fisher, did you ever go there?
Yeah, I have.
California sales office? Okay. Pardon? Oh, San Bernardino. Okay, good. I never went out that way, but Al was out there working with John Pope, the salesman at the time. They had a sales lead from this guy from Australia.
Paul.
What was his name?
His name was Paul.
Paul, did you? Paul. Okay, Paul.
Paul and Don, husband and wife.
The Australians?
Business.
The Australians, okay. All right, I'm not gonna call him Paul, but I'll tell you why. So, anyway, they were in the LA area. They wanted to come by and see the fax software that we had. So they came for a demonstration. Turns out he was a colorful character. Think Crocodile Dundee. I'm gonna call him Dundee, and not Paul. Okay, so Dundee. First of all, he walked across the 405 freeway, across the LA freeway, to get to the sales office in San Bernardino. He says, well, look at the map, mate, it's just right across the way. We walk a lot in Australia. I'm like, He's all dirty and mussed and everything. And then he even had torn his pants on the way, so during the sales call, this is all true stuff. Al tells it better than me. But he had a little sewing kit with him, you know, you're always prepared, and he sat and sewed his trousers through the sales demonstration. He's sewing his trousers. So, all right, so then after that, they went out to lunch, and Dundee really wanted to follow the American customs, so he's looking at what Al does. He's gonna do what Al does. So Al puts his napkin in his lap, Dundee puts the napkin in the lap. Al gets his Splenda to put in his tea. If you've seen Al put Splenda in tea, he tears the little bag and turns upside down and flicks it. He flicks the bag. It goes everywhere. Dundee gets the Splenda, tears it open, and flicks it. Doesn't matter. And the lunch goes on, and then Al ordered a club sandwich. Dundee ordered a club sandwich. The lunch comes, and they're talking and everything, and Al goes to take the bite of the club sandwich. He picks up a section, as you do. He realizes the toothpick is still in the sandwich.
Oh, no.
So he goes to get the toothpick, pulls it out. Can you imagine what Dundee does? He picks up the sandwich. Dundee thought that's what you do in America with a club sandwich. Oh gosh, we had so much fun in those fax days. All right, so we're going to go through a few pictures of folks. I think the next one is me at my desk with my 80s haircut. Hey! Lizard! They call me Lizard. And next we have Steve. No, do we have Karen Rafferty? And I think that's Richard peeking over the cubicle at Karen. We had these cubicles, and everybody could see over them, except for me. And they called me Rodent. Thank you, Carol. They called me Rodent because I had that puffy hair you saw. So the puffy hair, I'm walking around the cubicle, and you can just see the top of my hair. It looked like a little mouse running across the cubicle. Anyway, I felt left out. They were all talking about the cubicle. And I'm like, what's going on? Okay, so then, all right, next I think is Steve Toney, and he's in the middle there. Those are his two sons on either side. He was one of our salesmen too, and he had a little story that I have to tell because he's sick. He really wanted to be here, but he's I don't know if it's the flu or COVID, but he's really sick. So he came for a job interview. You know this story, Steve. Okay, he came for a job interview. He's Lebanese. He's a handsome guy and everything, and he had the Italian leather shoes and the Ralph Lauren suit and the what is it, the Calvin Klein obsession, the fragrance, you know, he's looking on, so he's nervous, and he's asking Al Al's telling him about the job. He's asking about the job, Al's telling him about the job, and back and forth, and at the end, Steve says, well, how did I do? How am I doing? And Al says, well, you look good. and you smell good. I'll have to get back to you about the rest of it. We still say that. You look good. It's good. All right, so that's Steve. Okay, next is Betsy and Steve Fisher. Okay, they met at Fax. They had I think you were hiding your relationship for a while, right? How long have y'all been married now?
32 years.
32 years. Okay, Fish, do you have some things you can tell us?
Just a quick story.
All right.
This is quick now.
No old screen to the microphone.
So, Al hired me in the 80s to be a salesman. And went through all the training and everything, and then of course it's time to go out and put yourself in front of some customers or some prospects. So Al and I go on our first trip, and I will say anytime I went on a trip with Al, it was an adventure. It was a trip. It was certainly an adventure. So we fly into Kansas City, and we get there. I don't remember what time of year it is, but it was hot. The weather was very unseasonably warm. And Al, of course, doesn't have any shorts or anything packed. We're flying in the day before our meeting. So he says, there's a Kmart here. Why don't we just stop there? I need to buy some shorts. So I said, okay, we go in. And he finds the shorts, and he's looking at them and looking at them. And he says to me, I don't see a dressing room anywhere here, or a fitting room. see if you can find someone to find out where it is. Well, I haven't been gone 2 seconds. And I come back and his Al, he's dropped trowel, and he's trying on shorts. Right in the middle of Kmart. And every time someone come by, he'd kind of pull the rack of clothes a little closer. So, that's funny enough in my mind, but then he wears his shorts to the checkout with the tags on and has them ring the thing up and cut the tags off for him. So anyway, nothing else happened that evening. We had dinner, and then the next day we go to the Prospect place, and we're there 3, 4, 5 hours. We were there a long time. Had lunch with them, and we are getting very close to missing our flight, return flight. We had an hour and a half drive to the airport. So we go out of there, and we're racing to get back to the airport. We drive up to the curb about 15 minutes before the flight was supposed to leave. And Al says, I said, Al, we haven't got time. We got to take this rental car back. He says, don't worry about it. This guy that tipped the sky cap a little bit of money, he'll take it back. I said, okay. So we run through the airport, get on the plane, get home. About a week and a half later, I get a notification from Hertz that the car was returned. The only problem was it was 4 days late and 500 miles over. So that's the end of the story. I don't remember how that ended up.
Did you make the sale, Steve? That's the
How
question.
was the sale?
Did you make the sale?
I was going to ask you that. I
Eventually.
don't remember. Eventually, but I don't remember.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Steve. Let's look at a few more pictures of some folks. We've got John and Angela. John worked at Fax and now works at Amtech. And then we've got, next we have Mary and Donna and Karen. Mary is very sad she couldn't make it. Mary on the left, something came up at work where she just could not get out of it. But Donna and Karen are here, ladies. Then next we have Sandy and Mike Amison. Sandy worked for Fax, but not only that, but Sandy and Mike became very good friends with Patty and Al. Trips and vote trips and all kinds of fun activities. And I know you guys are gonna get to miss him. Did y'all, when did everyone say anything? Okay, so let's go to Carol. Carol Bush, who worked for Fax back in the day, and then also for Amtech for a little bit until her daughter started having grandchildren, and she left us. But Carol has a funny story from a business trip that she and Al took to Montana.
This is going to be short. I first met Al way back in the 1980s when I went to work for Fax Management Systems, so I have a number of Al Bowen stories, and also that I could tell. Anything from like going to the airport, wearing bags over our heads, to meet somebody coming in from a flight, to, dilly bars at Amtech every once in a while. But one of my favorite stories about Al, he never meets a stranger. And one of my favorite stories about him was a fairly recent story. It was in the fall of 2017, and at that time I was working for Amtech. And Al and I traveled together, as Steve said, it's an adventure. But we went on business to the Hobart office in Billings, Montana. And we were there for a week, and we were training them on lots of different things, mostly the mobile project and all. And so there were some long days. And the last night, we went to a nice steakhouse for dinner. It had linen tablecloths and napkins, just going to be a nice dinner before we had to go home the next day. And the perky waitress comes over to our table and introduced herself, and she was just asking, how was your day, and are you celebrating anything special tonight? And Al promptly answered her and said, yes, it's my wedding anniversary. And she was like, oh, wonderful, congratulations. How many years have you been married? And then Al innocently said, "Oh, she's not my wife. My wife is back in Jacksonville, Florida." And I was just kind of at a loss for words. So I just laughed and smiled, and I just couldn't wait to get back to tell Patty the funny story that happened on this particular trip out. So anyway, I just think it's fitting that we're celebrating Al today on his birthday, and we just need to remember all the fun and happy memories and his big heart.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen. Next slide is, I threw this in here just for fun. Ever since we worked together at FACS, our dear Karen Rafferty has coordinated a girls' night. It ebbs and flows, but every quarter we try to get together for girls' night. So on the far left is me and Sandy and Karen and Patty and Shannon Treywick, who's not here. Al always wanted to come. He always, "Can I come? Can I come?" And we didn't let him. And then on the bottom right is when kind of the same group, we went on a cruise together. So we've remained friends for a long time, and Al loved all the ladies in these pictures. Okay, so next is, me and Al on New Year's Eve. At Harbor Lights, Donna. Harbor Lights, back in the day. Okay. So then next is just some silly pictures of Al. This is at Universal Studios. Patty and Al went on a trip out there, I think related to a business trip, I'm not sure. He's in the big chair, looking cute. Okay, then the next one is, you saw this when he's on the train tracks. This is something at Universal Studios, some kind of stunt, I don't know exactly, but, or he just did this, I don't know. But the next one is him. They had at Universal Studios, you could pick up the A-Team van. You remember the A-Team? So it's like really light, but it looks like you're Superman. So then Al's picking it up, and the next one is Al laying under the tire. That was his idea, of course. All right, then we're going to transition to 1989. Al and Patty starting Amtech. So let's see that picture. They moved to Raleigh. I'm going to say a couple things about that. Okay, we could go to the next one. They moved to Raleigh to start the business with Dennis Starr, who is here with us tonight. They founded the company because FACS, the company that we work for, had 10 Hobart service contractors as customers, but FACS was kind of wishy-washy. Yeah. They needed struck out on their own, started the business with Dennis, and wrote software specifically for the Hobart service contractor. There's some different needs versus an HVAC contractor. So that's how Amtech started. And I'd like Dennis to, Nola, if you could bring the microphone to Dennis over here. He's going to share a little bit with us.
There's no way to follow some of these stories. Unbelievable. I've known Al and Patty since I guess about 1985, when I was over the food operations, the food offices within Hobart Corporation, and they had a relationship with the corporate IT folks to provide this fax management software to the branches. And I was ever so anxious to get out of the corporate life, and had an opportunity to buy the Hobart office in Knoxville, Tennessee. And about the day that I acquired it, learned that the Carrier Corporation, which was responsible for fax, decided they were going to stop supporting the product that was already in these offices, of which Knoxville was one. And so I bought a company that had an IT department that was about to shut down. So I already knew Al previously in the corporate life, and I reached out to him and said, you know, this doesn't feel very good to me, not having any kind of computer support within this business I acquired. We need to be talking about a new plan. And he said, well, why don't we think about starting a company of our own? And I said, well, I feel like I just acquired something here, but what do you have on your mind? He said, why don't we form a company and build some software that's uniquely tailored to all the Hobart offices around the country, instead of having to deal with a product off the shelf that doesn't officially fit the requirements.
And so we got together in a hotel room one night in Knoxville, Patty and Al and I, and formed this plan to start this company. Ken Brown ought to be recognized. He's sitting over there. He was a part of that original trio and really the primary architect of the original Amtech software. So we developed a pretty nice little product and found out along the way that Hobart Corporation was supporting 45 or so independent offices that all had off-the-shelf software and trying to support them and create some kind of interface for data processing was extremely cumbersome for them. So when they learned that we had this product in about 10 installations, they decided, boy, this is the time we can peel off all those other independent requirements we have in the other offices. So they mandated that the Amtech software get installed in every independent office around the country, and then Amtech really came alive. So pretty exciting journey that we've had together. And we formed that company in May of 1989, so it's been 36 years that little company's been alive. And several people sitting at this table, along with Patty and John and Abel, are all a part of this Amtech family that we're very, very proud of. We've lost our rudder without Mr. Bowen because he was clearly the guy with the vision to develop an exciting future for Amtech, but we absolutely intend to stay on the journey. Along the way, we installed several servers in these companies, and they would all have a useful life and then need to be retired. The server that we had in our Knoxville operation, we just clung to until we finally had to upgrade. I think the second generation, we were operating one day and all of a sudden the server shut down.
Oh, that's not it.
Sound effects, that's pretty cool. That's what it sounds like. So I called him up, this is about 6 o'clock at night, and I said, Al, I think we're in serious trouble. He says, well, let's go ahead and get the Dell technical support group on the line, because we still have the ability to get into it, we just don't have the ability to get output. And let the technical support people help us diagnose this thing remotely. And so they did. And I'm not going to try to be even remotely technical like the rest of these Amtech folks. But they discovered that we had a bad RAM board in this server. And there was no way it was going to operate without it being replaced. And Al says, hey D, it's good news. And I said, so exactly what's good about it? He says, because we have extra RAM boards. I said, where? He said, in your office. How do you know that? Because when we put in your server, I wanted to make sure we had some kind of backup, so I made sure they were supplied. I said, do you know where they are? Yeah, they're in the office closet up on the top shelf and they're marked computer parts. I said, you can't be serious. This is 5 years ago. He says, go look on the top shelf just as you walk in the office. I walk in there and look up and move some stuff away, and there's a box that says computer parts, and these damn RAM boards are laying right inside this box. 5 years later. I said, so what are we going to do now? We're going to get this tech support guy here? He says, there's no way we're going to get them out there for a couple of days, I'm sure. We can do this. I said, what are we going to do? You're in Jacksonville. He says, we're going to take this server apart and fix it. I said, that week feels like it's me sitting here. And it's now about 8 o'clock at night after we've done all this troubleshooting. He says, we can do this. He says, I got your server all blown up, I've got all the technical stuff here on the computer. I can see what we're dealing with. You just need to stay calm and we can get through this. So take the cover off the thing and lay it over on the side and peel this part off and lay it over here. He says, now you'll see these RAM boards down on the side. There's one in there that's the problem. I have parts laying all over this office. It's a monumental cluster. But he says, we're fine. So you see that one is labeled number A or B? Yep, that's the problem. Pull that one and take one out of the pack and put it in. And while you're there, we know we're at max capacity on your server because your business has grown. So let's go ahead and put the second card in the it's available slot. Okay. So we lumbered through this. I reassembled the whole daggone thing, fired it back up, put a date that we saved the data on from the previous night. You know the drill. And this daggone thing came to life. And we backed up all the data every night religiously, so we literally fired the thing back up. I didn't think we were going to be able to open the company the next day, and all of a sudden we were 100% fit, ready to just carry on like nothing ever happened. And it is now 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, "You think we're good?" He says, "I think you're ready to open. We've had a long day. Let's go home." So about 10 minutes later, I thought, well, there's one more question I had for him. I don't remember specifically what it was about the startup. I need to call him back and ask him one more question. So I call him on his cell phone. I hear rustling, and he's panting. I said, "Al, what the hell are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm walking." Okay. "Why are you walking? Where are you exactly?" He says, "Well, Patty left at the end of the day, took our other car, and she has the keys to the one that are left here." And I said, "So, well, you've decided to just hoof it home?" He said, it's not that bad. I just got to cross the bridge." He said, "I will say that these pool shoes are just killing me on the edge of this road." I said, "How is 2 o'clock in the morning? This is dangerous. You just walked across this bridge." He said, "I'm only about 15 minutes away." And I said, "So why don't you just pick up the phone and call Patty? She'll understand." And he says, "No, that would frighten her." And I said, "Okay, so how much farther do you have to walk?" He said, "About 15 minutes, I think." I said, "Well, then if that's the case, we're going to talk till you tell me you're in your driveway." And he said, "Okay." So we just talked about everything under the sun for the next 15 minutes while he continued to pan and hoof it into his house. And finally said, "Okay, I'm in the driveway. Are we done now?" And I said, I think we're done." It was the craziest thing. We laughed about it forever. And the days going past, but it demonstrated to me several things. Number one, his absolute commitment to his wife. He would not disturb her for any reason. And his absolute commitment to me. So, I greatly appreciate the long relationship we've had together, and the opportunity to work with these beautiful people at Amtech has been a real pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, this is Patty and Al in front of the house that they rented in Raleigh to start the business, the Amtech business. Ken lived there with them. He had the bottom floor. Lori, Karen and Lori moved up to, anyway, I've got so many pictures, but I'm gonna kind of shorten it up a little bit. This is Patty now. Aren't they looking trim and fit? They were doing Nutrisystem. Patty and Al and Ken, they all lived in the house. Okay, Ken. I got your permission. And Al and Ken were particularly proud of their abs. Next slide.
That was gonna be my move.
together, when Al was in the hospital, put together a little get well, I wouldn't just put this up here, oops, sorry. Put together a little get well book with pictures of everybody, you know, from Fax and Amtech and everything, and that's the picture Ken sent me. So I'm like, I called them and said, you know, they're proud of those abs, you know, I would be too. Okay, so let's do. Okay, next, still in the, that was in the Amtech. Here's, Lori's here today, Lori Bowen, and Lori and Karen moved to Raleigh for Amtech for those initial 2 years up in Raleigh. Karen was technical support. Look at Al, he always has a funny hat. He loves hats. He's funny. Okay, next. Oh, these are just a few pictures in Williamsburg. When the couple years they were up in Raleigh, a lot of us went up to visit them, I know. And I went one time and we went to Williamsburg and took those pictures, so put them in there because they're cute. All right, let's go. And here's on the right, Patty and Al, they're listening to a presentation by this lady in Williamsburg who, it was a guided tour, and she's telling you about her chores for the day, and she's in character, and she goes to the bakery, and she goes to the silversmith, and she goes to the tailor, and she's carrying a butter churn because she's delivering butter to somebody. So we're going along on the little chores with her. She, you know, not even knowing Al, she looks to Al and said, "Sir, could you carry this butter churn for me?" So you see him carrying the butter churn. He carried the butter churn, you know, and listened intently to the, you know, he played right along. It was so funny. So I had to put that in there. All right. Oh, next, here he is in the stocks. He got himself into some trouble. Next. But he managed to get away. All right. Okay, here's the next one. It's my favorite picture in the whole slideshow. That's Patty and I looking at Al adoringly. I was taking all these pictures, and then I handed the camera to the waitress and said, "Can you take a picture of the three of us?" I don't know why we're doing that. I really don't know. But she caught us both looking at him like, ah! I just love it. Okay. Okay, then back to Jacksonville. After all that business in Raleigh, back to Jacksonville. The next one is Ken Brown, who you just saw his wonderful abs. He is shipped everything from all the computers and all that, moved to Jacksonville and rented from Beach Marine, a building that's no longer there. Where are you, Kendall? And they left. Okay. They own Beach Marine. Kendall and Rose, I don't know the last name. They were here for a while. But we rented that building, and then we ended up moving. Amtech ended up moving to the third floor because this building flooded constantly. So, but that's Ken. All right. So then these next two pictures are Acapulco. Patty and Al in Acapulco. I only include them because I want to go to the next. So that one, and then that's Acapulco. Gorgeous. And the next one is an Amtech slide, I think. I'm kind of bouncing around. That Amtech, that's all about. This is kind of where I was going to talk some more about Amtech, but I think we've done a lot of that. So let's go to the next slide. This is the map of Amtech's customers. Customers in the United States and Mexico and Puerto Rico. It's not just a local company. Okay, so in addition to that, Patty and Al had the Hobarts in Asia, Hong Kong and Seoul and Tokyo back in the 80s, needed software, and Al worked with one of the controllers up in Troy, Ohio with Hobart and said, you know, we've got this software, we could. So Patty and Al installed their software in these 3 locations. Patty was telling me last night, some modifications had to be made. They all had to have an English-speaking person, and for us to train. And then, like the yen, the currency of the yen is so many digits. They had to change all the fields that had current. There were some changes that had to be made. But many stories about going to Tokyo and Seoul and Hong Kong. Nancy Vella, who worked for Amtech, went with Al on trips. I don't think Patty and Al went together very often to Asia because somebody had to run the company, but there was one story where Al they got to one site, and I can't remember the details, Patty. They got to like Hong Kong and the modem failed or whatever, but he knew he had a modem back in Seoul, so he flew back over there and got the modem and came back. I mean, he would, he'd do anything to solve a problem. But now in Hong Kong, and all the Asian people just loved Big Al. They took him on like a family member. In Hong Kong, this was the time when, and I've had to remind myself of some history. The British, Hong Kong was a British colony from 1841 to 1997. So in 1997, when Hong Kong went back to China, they had to change software. Those Chinese, they made them, they couldn't use it. And I'm not sure what happened to the others. The Asian customers don't use the software anymore. They've gone another way, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, now the Vela family. There's Rob Vela, he and Al, and next photo is the Vela family. They are not here because they're on a Disney cruise with their grandchildren, and you can't change that. So they're sad they're not here, and wanted to ask Rob and Nancy if they'd write something up for us to hear about, because they've got a good story. And I've asked Dave Wilt to come up and read it. Do you want the microphone over there, or do you want the podium? Will relinquish the podium.
Okay. If I can get through this without crying, that'd be good. Al Bowen, a man who didn't take no for an answer, at least not when it came to the Velas moving to Florida. Living in Enfield, Connecticut, we decided that we should consider a move before the kids became too entrenched in school, sports, etc. We started looking in the Research Triangle area in North Carolina. Back in 1994, job searching was done by subscribing to newspapers and sending your resume in the mail. After several interviews in Virginia and North Carolina, we decided it wasn't the right time for a move. And Nancy began a new job in May 1995, working for the state of Connecticut. On that very day of her new job, Al Bowen found Nancy's resume, which had been sent by her to a company that advertised in the Raleigh newspaper. It turns out that company was Amtech Computer Services. As the story goes, Al found the resume in a pile of paperwork some 6 months after it was sent. It may or may not have been found in Al Bowen's garage. Al placed a call to the Vela household and left a message. Nancy listened to the message when she got home and erased it without even giving it a second thought. Al was persistent, however, and continued calling. Eventually, Nancy talked to him and told him she wasn't interested. Al didn't give up and kept calling and started talking to Rob. Eventually, Al convinced Rob to convince Nancy to come for a weekend in Jacksonville Beach and meet the Bowens and hear about the job. We decided it would at least be a nice weekend away. We had a great weekend in Florida, spending time with Al and Patty. We stayed at the Sea Turtle, wined and dined at Ragtime, and took a ride with a realtor through Jacksonville Beach and Ponte Vedra Beach. After careful consideration, we realized this opportunity was meant to be. What started as a weekend away turned out to be a great decision in the Vela lives. Nancy started working at Amtech in July. Rob, Kyle, and Adam moved down in August, just in time for the kids to start 5th and 3rd grade. Over the past 30 years, Al and Patty have become part of our family. There were many nights out, events, celebrations, and we shared with them. We had many memorable evenings at Buckets, Sundog, Ragtimes. This says JP McMurphy's, but I believe it was RP's. And Billy Boathouse, as well as boating down the Intracoastal to Eddie's and various other interesting spots. We always had to fight Al for the bill. Al was a kind, personable, generous, sincere, and humorous man. He had a way of making you feel comfortable. We always enjoyed being in his company. Al and Patty also developed wonderful friendships with our sons, Kyle and Adam, who also worked for Amtech for several years. Rob also had some serious moments with Al. As we discussed our families and business, it was quite obvious by Al's tone of voice, the look in his eye, and his carefully chosen words that Patty, his family, his friends, and Amtech were the most important things in his life. In the past few years, we didn't get together as often, but when we did, we laughed the night away. which ended a lot earlier than back in the day. As we would say to our goodbyes for the evening, Rob always told Al, "Thank you for bringing us to Florida, Big Al. I love you." We will forever feel this way. We are so thankful for Al and Patty's friendship, and we'll always keep fond memories of Al in our hearts. Here's to you, Big Al, with lots of love. Rob, Nancy, Kyle, and Al.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, thank you. Next up, we're gonna look through, see some of the current Amtech employees. This is everybody except for me. Figured you've seen enough of me, and Patty's not on here. But John Patterson on the far left, tech support. Liz Rowden, top middle, jack of all trades. Kevin Walker, our programmer, on the far right. Allie on the bottom right, and Abel Alvarez, the bottom middle. He's our AV guy today. Patty wanted me to tell everybody how valuable each and every one of these employees is to our company, and how much she appreciates everything that they've done in the past, and then continue to do with Al's missing Al and filling in the gaps, and she's very proud of our team. Okay, and then some previous employees from Dave just spoke on the far left, and he's here with his son Vince. And then Billy, who's here. Billy was IT with us, but he's here with his wife. Couldn't get Billy to talk, but sorry, Billy. But Dave had a personal story to share. I asked him to share the Bella's story, but he had a couple of comments to make in addition. Right, Dave?
Yep, it's me again. This not going to be as sad as what I just read, but I do have notes. If you guys know Al, he always did all the talking, so we didn't have to do all that. So I put some notes down. He'd probably be laughing at me. For those of you who don't know, I'm Dave. I worked for Antec for 10 years. Trying to speak up for Wilson in the back there. They tasked me today with some stories, and also that letter. So I'm not the best at telling stories. If you were around Al Bowen, you know he was a storyteller. He's probably the best one that I've ever been around. He told the story, and every time he told it, I laughed so hard. And I've tried this story on so many people, and nobody laughs. And I'm like, and I think it's probably one you guys may remember. I think it had Sweeney in it. But he was telling this story about going out to this restaurant with like 3 of his boys. I think they had been out drinking, and they went there to end the night. And this place was having an all-you-can-eat chicken special. And they had been out, so they were all dressed up. One of them, I think it was Sweeney. I'll say it was Sweeney, but he had on this suede jacket. Like really expensive, super, super nice suede jacket. So this suede jacket, he didn't take it off, and they kept ordering chicken, and they kept eating it, or it was going somewhere. And he said at the end of the night, they stood up, and he looks over, and he sees like these big spots on this suede coat. And I'm saying it's Sweeney, but whoever it was had been stuffing the chicken into the suede coat to take with him. He get his money's worth, I guess, but every time he told that story, I died. One thing I want to mention, these are going to kind of be rapid fire stuff because there's so many Al stories, but the one that Rob mentioned, obviously the bar tab, we used to go out, and if you know anything about Al, on a day like today, he'd be sending emails probably about 10 o'clock, ready to go next door or here or wherever, just be done, especially since it's his birthday, and also a couple days from now, his favorite thing was March Madness, so we'd be leaving early pretty much all this week. But the bar tabs, we would go out, everybody would start their own tab, And at the end of the night, you'd go to the bar to settle up, and there'd be nothing to settle up. He'd already taken care of it. And it was just like one of his things that he always did, and it just was something that always touched me. One time we all decided that we were going to do No Shave November. I think it was I think it was my idea. And it wasn't really the idea wasn't made with him, but a couple days later you come in and see Al with this big gray beard, and it's like, okay, he's one of the guys, you know. He loved us pretty much like his own kids. Liz was the older sister that nobody messed with, including Al. KW, Billy, Adam, and me, we were all the idiot kid brothers. And, he absolutely loved Vince. We have mention of the Billy bars. Vince had pretty much his own desk. He had a tablet. He could have probably had a cell phone on the Antec bill too, if that was something okay. But it was St. Patty's Day. He was walking through, and Vince was really young. He was dumping coins everywhere, and Vince didn't see him do it. And Vince thought it was a leprechaun. And he just kept tricking him the whole time. But this is my last bit, and this was probably the funniest thing in the middle of something that wasn't funny. It was Kev and me and Al, and we had Vince had this little desk, and Patty and Al had bought it for him. Put it in my office, and Vince would sit there and do his work, and I'd pick him up from school and bring him there. This was earlier in the day, and Al called this meeting, but he called it in my office. And I don't know, I can make a whole lot of jokes. It was probably Katrina, she couldn't get her email open or something. But we all went in there, and I had chairs in my office, plenty of chairs. And he goes to sit in this chair that was for a 5-year-old. And I don't know if you guys knew Al was a giant of a man. And he sat down, and he absolutely destroyed that chair. The next thing I know, he's on his back on the floor, just in shambles, like surrounded by chair pieces. And Kevin and I had to help him up, but why he chose that chair, I don't know. It was, like I said, he could always make you laugh in the middle of something super important or super, just, he always wanted to make it easy. Like, yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep, sorry, I didn't mean to go long, sorry.
We have the room until 5 o'clock, and it's 5 o'clock. The food's hardly been touched. I'm not sure what to do. It's a big Al, yes, a big Al. And hopefully you'll have time to eat. 5:15 is the absolute cutoff. They have another event tonight. I'm sorry I didn't plan better. Well, this is probably the last picture taken of Al, far left. That's my daughter standing next to my youngest, who's not here tonight. She interned for us, and so she came for a visit. That was Al in October, looking well and healthy. I mean, he wasn't sick for very long. I just like that picture, and I'm glad I took it. And the rest of it is, what is the rest of it? Oh, just more pictures. Okay, just go through. Wilson. Wilson and Al, absolutely. We're best friends. I had some Wilson stories, but we're running out of time. And then go to the last one. I like this one. Go back to that one, the last one. I like that picture because Al is got that crazy hat on. They were in a store, he saw it, he put it on, the hat with the spikes, and he's looking
For shorts.
for shorts, right? Looking out the window.
You bright enough for me all of my days. The love so sweet in so many ways. I wanna stop. Thank you, baby. I just wanna stop. Thank you, baby. Oh yes, how sweet like sugar sometimes. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Whoa, yeah. You were better to me than I was to myself. For me, there's you, and there ain't nobody else. I wanna stop. Thank you, baby. I just wanna stop. Thank you, baby.